After takes, check, king over. This rook moved up, I guess, to try to block this diagonal or something, and Mikhail said, I don't need my queen. So, you're an aggressive player who likes to attack. I love it. But you need something to play against the Sicilian. You've came to the right place on the right day, because we're going to look at the most aggressive way to play against the Sicilian. And after the move c5, d4. This opens up the Smith-Morra Gambit, something my coaches actually had me play as a kid. I didn't understand it then, but I'm going to impart some knowledge today. Now, the goal of the Smith-Morra is to give away this pawn. And when the pawn is captured, after knight takes, we get very quick development. We have control over a lot of the center squares. We have both bishops ready to come out. We also have the D and the C files open, and this pawn is also not blocked. It often comes forward. In fact, let's start out by looking at one of the most basic traps. After black plays a move like d6 to try to stop the pawn from moving, to get the knight to the happy square, if you play bishop c4 and the knight just lazily hops to his happy square, well, he's not going to be happy much longer, because you can immediately hit black with e5. And then if black accepts your second pawn sacrifice, that is an oopsie daisy moment. Bishop takes f7, distracting the king from protection of the queen. And after takes, of course, we win the queen. Now, if we go back to this position, black could technically decline and play a move like knight to d7. But if you just play knight f3, white has massive space advantage in compensation for the pawn. And again, black has to be careful trying to win this pawn, because trust me, there's going to be some tricks on the queen and on the f7 pawn. Now, what if black gets out of the opening? Well, let's take a look at our old friend Mikhail, because he played the Smith-Morra in this game. After d4 takes, c3 takes, knight takes. We're going to look at pretty much a standard Smith-Morra type game here. Now, black played knight c6 because this knight cannot get hit by the e-pawn, of course. And after knight f3, now we had d6, bishop c4, and black was so concerned about some of those tricks on the weak spot that black played the move e6. So, no quick win in this game, but look at what Mikhail does. He develops all of his pieces to really good squares. I mean, just look at white's position right here. Can you name a single bad white piece? I cannot. They're all exactly where they want to be. This is easily worth a pawn. This knight is about to hop-a-roo to d5 with a discovered attack on the queen. So the queen runs away. Now it's time to do some damage. So Mikhail plays the move knight to d4, and after castles, the bishop drops back. Anytime a sneaky retreat happens, you can guess why. This pawn wanted to use that square, and we're about to see some fireworks after f4. I mean, just look at this massive space. And now black, without being able to get this bishop out, decided to strike with e5, but that is not a good move, because now the bishop is lined up with the king. And after knight f5, thank you very much for that square, by the way, rook over, queen c4, there's already not a good way to guard this pawn. It is 1-0. Black could resign here, but black desperately tried this move, d5. And I just want to show you something funny. After takes, check, king over. This rook moved up, I guess, to try to block this diagonal or something. And Mikhail said, I don't need my queen. Queen takes bishop, simply wins the game. And now in this position, black played knight takes and lost in a couple of moves. I mean, black's just down a piece. But if black had captured the queen, we would have had the very pretty checkmate after knight takes. It doesn't matter what you take back with. And now back rank mate. This knight is so strong on f5, it covers the king's escape square. Obviously the rook could block, and then that would have been a pretty way to end the game. All right, one last example. What happens if black does not commit any of those pawns in the center? Well, that didn't turn out too well for black either in this game. Okay, our standard Smith-Morra, the knight came to c6 just like in the previous game, and now black tried g6, which is kind of like a dragon setup. As you can tell, this bishop pretty much always wants to be on c4 in the Smith-Morra. Only good things can happen when that bishop lands there. Bishop to g7, e5 anyway, despite the fact that there is no knight to attack. Now, you've got to be really careful trying to win this pawn, because if you do, there are certain tricks where my queen moves up, threatens mate, and attacks whatever piece you just capture an e5 with. So black gave a triple attack to the pawn, but white says, you know what? You can have it, because you're just going to open up more lines. And black probably should not have done this, but black went for 2 pawns, but look at all these open lines, a hallmark of the Smith-Morra, and you cannot let your opponent just catch up in development. You have to attack really, really quickly. And after knight to d5, the king ran over. He did not want to be on that e-file, but then white took anyway. And after takes, bishop to g5, threatening to take and fork the king and the queen. Black tried f6, but then white just gave away the bishop. And once it got captured, now the f-file is open. We had a very pretty finish. The rooks doubled up, the bishop moved back, the rook came over, threatening bishop to f7, checkmate. Notice how poorly black is developed. That is what you need to do when you give away a pawn in the opening. Black tried to give his king a little bit of an escape square, but now it was a simple remove the guard puzzle. White played rook takes, bishop check, and it does not matter which way you take back. Let's just say the king takes, queen takes, knight is mate. So there you go. If you want a super aggressive way to play against the Sicilian, play d4 on move 2. Play c3 on move 3. Give a pawn, get quick development, and go after that king.